College World Series starts today. This afternoon, TCU will take on Oral Roberts, and our friend Jacob Davis is with us. He covers the Frogs, does the pre- and post-game coverage on KTCU. Can TCU get it out of this bracket and make it to the National Championship Series? We'll talk about all that and more next on Locked On Horned Frogs.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. I would love if you do that. Also, you can find us wherever it is you get your podcasts in audio form, Spotify. We're on the SiriusXM app now, Apple Podcast, and more. And with us today is Jacob Davis. If you want to follow him on Twitter, it's at Jacob Film Guy. You can hear his work on KTCU today at 12:30. Is that what time pregame coverage starts?
Yes, that is correct.
12:30. So, take your lunch break at work and then just go home and get ready to watch or listen to some baseball. And you can hear Jacob on the radio previewing today's matchup with Oral Roberts. And Jacob, we've had kind of a journey together through this baseball season. When we first talked, things were not great. And we talked about that. We talked about it wasn't going well. It seemed like it was a stretch for this team to even make the postseason. We met up again before the Fayetteville Regional, and I think we both agreed that they had a chance, but didn't feel super confident about it. And then they blew Arkansas away, as well as, Arizona and some other teams to advance to the Supers. They defeat Indiana State. And so we discussed this a little bit in our preview to the regional. But, Jacob, as someone who has watched this team, listened to this team a lot this year, what the heck happened? Because they were a 500 baseball team, about 40 games through the season, and now they are one of 8 teams remaining with a chance to win a national championship.
Well, the number one answer is I don't know. Coach loves to take the, it was all you people outside this locker room. We believed in ourselves the whole time, but you can't tell me that people weren't a little bit down. I don't fully buy it, but what turned around? What changed? The offense and pitching, they improved somehow. TCU's only allowed more than 4 runs 3 times since May 1st. One was that win over Texas 15-7. The 7-6 loss against Kansas State, which, they almost won that. Garrett Wright, unfortunately just gave up a few base runners and KSU was able to convert. And then the 12-5 big championship victory over Oklahoma State. The offense is scoring 9.2 runs per game in that time. And those big numbers just keep coming. So whenever they're scoring 12 against Arkansas, that's not an outlier for TCU's offense right now. You can't sustain that over a whole season, of course. But you can do it over a stretch of 30 games, apparently, or not 30. That's a lot for college baseball, but several weeks. But why? I think really only the guys in the locker room know. In the press conference yesterday, that Braden Taylor gave answers like, I think just a lot of us were tired of the way we were playing. Here's the quote. Just at that point in the season, a lot of us got tired of playing the way we were. So we realized we needed to change something. So what really was just go out there and start having fun, playing more with our backs against the wall. So I guess this team responds well to pressure, responds well to tough situations, and is really resilient. And we've definitely seen that throughout the year.
Well, and you bring up a good point, Jacob. It's hard to describe how hot they've been because baseball, you watch it, it is a sport that is measured over a long season. It's the reason we don't have single elimination in the postseason. One-off baseball game, there's not a ton you can take from it. It's a game that's played in series. It's a game that's played in tournaments. And so the fact that they lost a game in the 9th inning to K-State on the road, and I think the other loss was a 1-run loss to Cal State Fullerton on a Friday night, where they just couldn't get the run support in front of Luis Rodriguez. But they have been outstanding throughout this whole thing. And I think one thing that I have misjudged, you talked about the pitching and how much it's improved. I still have some concerns about this pitching depth, but Cole Klecker was fantastic last weekend. Sam Stoutenborough is quickly becoming one of my favorite people because he's just like, I'm going to give you good innings. And how do you see this pitching staff sort of setting up as they go into the next round of this postseason? Obviously, Cole Klecker's getting the start today, and then what's behind him as far as the different arms they can use to try to get out of this tournament?
Yeah, so TCU's been doing something interesting that they've been able to do because their pitcher's been performing so well. They're just piggybacking guys. They have Cole Klecker and Luke Savage go on Friday game or for game one. Game two or Saturday will be Sam Stoutenborough and Ben Abelt. And then that third game, need it to be played. It's Cam Brown and then all hands on deck. You can, if Ben Abelt didn't go too long, get him in there. Cohen Feezer, Hunter Hodges, Garrett Wright closing. This pitching staff has really settled into its roles, and it's unfortunate that Luis Rodriguez is missing right now because he would fit right there in that third rotation spot really well. I think Ryan Vanderhei could give a quality inning out of the bullpen every game. He can eat innings at least, and what TCU has done without those two guys, without that depth, has been really interesting to see. And TCU does still have Chase Hoover. He's available to start. He started against Oklahoma State in a revenge game for him in the Big 12 tournament. Braden Sloan, the Tuesday starter, could get out and throw multiple innings. And then Jax Traeger and Mason Speaker in those blowouts, they've come in and kept TCU on top, gotten out of the 8th, 9th inning. And of course, River Ridings too. I mean, we haven't seen him in a while, but I mean, he's there, he's available, just to give another lefty look out of that pen.
Yeah, that's kind of there's a lot of wild cards in this bullpen right now because you talked about a number of guys that just haven't pitched because they've sort of settled into this formula of we got 2 or 3 arms that we can use. And I mean, ideally that's all we're going to use. Right. And so, I mean, Cohen Fesser has been good situationally this year. And yeah, I would just say for TCU fans, like prepare. This is postseason baseball, right, Jacob? Like prepare to see some guys that maybe you haven't seen in 2 or 3 weeks because it is truly all hands on deck when it comes down to it. You have to have a lot of different pitchers who can give you innings this time of year.
Yeah, and someone like Ben Abelt, like he could throw 50 pitches on Friday, in theory, and then go out and throw another 50 on Sunday. That's the great thing about this College World Series setup. There's no doubleheaders, no back-to-back games, so that does put TCU in a better position than they would be in. But then the flip side is everybody else has that same advantage. So,
yeah, they do, but it does at least give them the opportunity, to, as you said, like load some guys up on different days of the week, which will be fun to watch. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Oral Roberts is who TCU's playing, and so we will preview what they bring to the table with Jacob Davis. That's coming up on Locked On Horned Frogs. Want to talk quickly about Birddogs, birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. If you go to that website, and again, it's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege, you can get a free Yeti tumbler with any purchase. A free Yeti tumbler. It's got the Birddogs logo on it. It's really cool with any purchase. Birddogs are comfortable. They feel good. They stretch really well. They fit to you in a nice way, and they look good on you. They're versatile. You can wear them out by the pool. You can wear them when you're just running around the house. You can run errands with them. You can even wear them to work if your office is, kind of casual and doesn't make you wear a suit and tie all the time. Birddogs shorts, pants are super comfortable. I can say from experience, they're kind enough to give me a couple products. And again, that's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. Purchase something there today and get a free Yeti tumbler with that purchase. Locked On Horned Frogs. We continue to roll along here in the College World Series. And Jacob, Oral Roberts has been the surprise of this tournament. 4 seed going into the Stillwater Regional. They get out of it. And then they go on and they take 2 out of 3 from Oregon in what was a crazy series. They blew game 1, but come back and they win game 2 on a walk-off and win game 3. There's a lot of big names here. It really does feel like it starts and ends with the lineup, but take us through a few of the players to watch with this Oral Roberts team. I know Jacob Hall will be their starter today, and he's kind of been their ace throughout the season.
Yeah, and if we want to start there, Hall is 8-3 on the year, 3.56 ERA. He's thrown 93 and 2/3 innings, so he's a guy who can throw for a while. We saw it in that Oregon game where they were coming back and they kept him in the game, which I thought was interesting when I was watching it. 253 opponent batting average, and I mean this is really good. 91 strikeouts to 15 walks on the year. So in general, he's not going to allow a ton of base runners for free, but he is giving up hits lately. So he allowed 7 base runners and 2 2/3 against OSU in the Stillwater Regional. And then in Eugene, he allowed 7 hits and 5 earned runs against Oregon. And that was during the 8-0 comeback. There were 3 home runs. And another thing about him, I mean, love it or hate it, he's got the curled hipster mustache and not just the normal mustache that guys have been wearing lately, popular with the kids these days. So good for him going a little bit distinctive with the look.
Yeah, Oral Roberts, they do have a distinctive look. They got some different guys with different types of facial hair. TCU's been wearing like these batting practice jerseys for about a month now, I guess out of superstition because they're playing so well. And Oral Roberts kind of has that same vibe. Like I saw a lot of dirty caps last week when I was watching that super regional, some scuffed up jerseys. Like this is a go-getter of a team. Another player I wanted to talk about, his numbers are ridiculous. And I think he's on like a 47 game hitting streak. But Jonah Cox, their center fielder who sort of sets the table with them in the lineup, has been ridiculous this year, Jacob.
Yeah. He's hitting 420 right now with a 480 on base percentage. So good luck keeping him off the base paths. One thing, TCU, though, they have been holding down these like the best hitters in lineups. So Kendall Diggs, he was a guy who going in, like I was scared of him. Chase Davis, same thing. And those guys didn't do a lot of damage against the Frogs. It was Romero's long ball in Arizona, and then just random guys, point to a guy in the lineup that is not one of the best Arkansas hitters, and they were the guys taking care of business. But yeah, Jonah Cox is going to be dangerous to the Frogs. He's big on the base pass, 28 for 31 trying to steal. So, once he's on, he's going to try and move into scoring position and get Oral Roberts on the board.
Yeah, and I wonder too, I mean, they didn't really run a lot. TCU didn't in that Indiana State series. I know Indiana State had a really good catcher. I would think that'll be part of the formula against Oral Roberts. This is a solid defensive club, but they're not like elite in that area. And so that'll kind of be interesting to see how they approach things offensively, Jacob, as far as movement on the base pass this weekend.
Yeah, and another guy they have, their right fielder, Matt Hogan. He's hitting 332, 47.7 on base percentage, 18 home runs, 70 RBIs, and another just insane strikeout to walk stat for them, 1.27 to 1 walk to strikeout to walk ratio. So he's basically walking every time he strikes out too. Just crazy. And I do want to point out, like, these guys are good, but they're most notable for their 80 grade names. Holden Breeze, amazing. Mac McCluskey is a fun one. And the best name on their team, Blaze Brothers.
Blaze Brothers. Yeah, that sounds like the dude that's going to replace Tucker Carlson in Fox News. That's a good name. And then out of the bullpen, they have a guy, like they have a bunch of guys that they'll mix and match. But their main player is Cade Denton, who I believe was like the Summit Conference Pitcher of the Year, and he's been outstanding and will throw a lot of innings, Jacob.
I mean, shoot, he may be the best reliever in college baseball, but he's definitely the best one in this tournament. He's leading D1 baseball with 15 saves in 33 appearances, 2-1 on the year in 58 innings. His whip, walks and hits per inning pitched, 0.94. So Good luck getting on base against him. 210 opponent batting average, and another insane strikeout to walk guy, 78 strikeouts to 11 walks.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. So not a
Yeah.
lot of free passes. And, honestly, like TCU has been more aggressive at the plate the second half of the year. But this doesn't appear to be a team that's gonna put you on base either with a walk or hit by pitch variety. They seem pretty solid in that regard.
Yeah, and here's a quote from Kate Denton in their presser yesterday, talking about the bullpen. He says, obviously the bullpen, we probably have one of the most diverse bullpens here at the College World Series. Their coach said that's pretty generous. And Denton continued, we have a 6'7" sidearm left-hander, a 5'8", 5'9" guy who spins the ball well, throws it hard, throws it up in the zone, a few other guys who are funky in their deliveries. So, even if TCU were to chase Jacob Hall from the game, get a lot of guys on base, you got to go up against this weird Oral Roberts bullpen. And, at this point in the season, it doesn't matter that they played in the Summit League. They've gotten through the regional and the super regional. They deserve to be here. And while they may be the best case scenario for TCU, when you look at all the other teams here, and especially that other bracket, they're a formidable opponent. Anyone who gets to Omaha, you got to look out for them.
No, they're really, really good. I mean, I don't expect this to be a cakewalk. It's obviously a game they can win, but Oral Roberts is here for a reason, as you said. And, I mean, they dominated their conference. They ran through the regional and super regional. You talked about the side of the bracket. It is the more manageable one, right? Like, you don't have to face Wake Forest. LSU, Tennessee is super talented. Stanford just took down Texas. But Florida and Virginia are solid clubs. Florida's the number 2 overall seed. So, is there a path here, Jacob, you think, to win this side of the bracket and make it to the National Championship Series?
I mean, there definitely is, because like you said, don't have to face LSU, don't have to face Wake Forest, and don't have to face Tennessee. Like, I don't know if I would put Stanford quite on that level, but
Sure.
even with Stanford instead of Tennessee, you don't want to be in that bracket. Everybody there is terrifying. But Virginia, they have a really good position group, really good offense. Saw it in the last 2/3 of that Duke series. But in the first game, we also saw that teams can steal something off of them. And Virginia's bullpen is not the best thing about their team. So if you can get to a starter, get them back into their pin, TCU is going to be able to hold up, whether that's in the winners or losers bracket, hold up against Virginia. Their standout guys, Kyle Teal, he's an MLB prospect, hitting 418, 484 on base, 13 home runs, 69 RBIs. And then the real fun one, number 2 seed, like you said, Florida. They have really good pitching and, good hitting too, but it's not the same as what Virginia and TCU have been doing lately. They have only been putting up, 4 or 5 runs a game, which if you play TCU at their best, that's not going to do it. On the flip side, though, they've been shutting people out. They did really well against South Carolina in that super regional, and their guy, the guy to watch there, Jack Caglione, or Jack Tawney, as he is called. He's a pitcher and first baseman. His pitching stats, 7-3, 3.78 ERA, and a 184 opponent batting average. So hopefully he's pitching in that first game and not in a potential elimination game. Then the hitting side, hitting 336, 31 home runs, 84 RBIs, 402 on base percentage. I mean, just incredible guy.
Yeah, no, he is. I mean, Florida's really deep. Like you talked about Jack, and he is one of the few two-way players you'll see in college baseball now, and he's a beast. But then also they got Hudson Waldrip, who doesn't have, like, his numbers don't blow you away. I think his ERA is like in the mid-4s, but he was outstanding against South Carolina, and he's one of those guys that all year people have been like, he's got plus stuff. It's just a matter of putting it together. Seems like it's come together for him in this time of year, which is always a dangerous thing. I want to come back and ask Jacob about one more thing. TCU is also active building next year's roster, and so we'll finish up our coverage with that next. This is Lockdown Horned Frogs. Okay, before we go, I mentioned this briefly the other day, but TCU has added a transfer from West Virginia, another in-conference transfer, and it's Ben Hampton, left-hander from West Virginia, big guy, has had a lot of starts over his career. What have you been able to dig up on Ben Hampton, Jacob, as he makes his way to TCU next season?
Yeah, so most of the year for West Virginia, obviously a great team, just barely missed out on being the solo champions of the Big 12 by dropping that series to Texas. But yeah, Friday started for most of the year. He had a tough into the season. He pitched against UT, only went 2/3 of an inning. It didn't look great. And then the Ball State game was also a tough outing in the regional. But against OSU in the Big 12 tournament, he won that elimination game. On the year, he's 5-3. He's a 4.45 ERA. The things that are concerning for me looking at this is the 1.44 WHIP and the 66-30 strikeout to walk ratio and the 279 opponent batting average. So looking at that, he's allowing a lot of base runners, and I don't know specifically, whether that's his pitch mix, something going on with the coaching. WVU is a good team, and he was their, second or third best, probably second best pitcher most of the year. So tough into the year. He does look like he fields his position well, and what I was able to dig up on YouTube, and because ESPN Plus gets rid of those full games, so I couldn't go watch that full TCU game from April. But he has a really good curveball too, and that's how he gets a lot of his strikeouts. So it's going to be interesting to see what coach is able to do with him.
Yeah, it has kind of a funky arm slot, not electric stuff. He does feel like a prototypical TCU pitcher, though, like just a guy that could eat some innings for you. So I'm interested to see what TCU does there, and still a lot of time to kind of dig in the transfer portal. But, the thing is, and I'm not trying to criticize this guy, Ryan Vanderhei starts the year as your Friday starter, and that ended up not working, but they were asking him to do a lot. I really feel like in a best-case scenario, Ben Hampton would be, possibly your third starter or maybe a middle innings type guy, and hopefully that works out for him. But, yeah, good pickup overall. And, Jacob, so 12:30 today, and you guys will be doing coverage of the College World Series all the way through, and that's 88.7 The Choice, right? 88.7 FM is where people can find it?
Yes, and of course, there's also the internet stream. Just go to KTCU's website. You can find a link there.
Listen to them. They're great. Chuck Lamondola is a great play-by-play guy. It's a good broadcast. Support local radio, support college radio.
We might get Jeff Williams in the booth, too, over the weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I love it. Bringing out all the stops for Omaha. Jacob, thank you as always. Again, it's at Jacob Film Guy on Twitter. Be sure to listen to him and his fellow compadres on KTCU this weekend. And hopefully we're talking about the Frogs moving on to the National Championship Series soon. We'll see what happens. This is Lockdown Horned Frogs. It's your team every day.